Hello there, and welcome to English with Monty. We've got a nice episode today. It's a chap called Marcus, who's originally from China, and this is actually his idea. It's like a focus on people who have come to the UK, I guess, to London in particular. So, hi, Marcus. How are you?
Hi Joe. Yeah, not bad.
Okay, great. I'm glad you're doing well.
Yeah,
Yeah, so, sorry I maybe told everybody that it was your idea, but it was your idea, right? I mean,
yeah, thank
you,
you.
yeah. But I think it's a great idea. I mean,
Yeah.
what maybe first of all you can tell the listeners why you thought it was a nice idea and it could work well on the podcast.
Yeah, because I'm an immigrant myself, and I got a dramatic story on my immigrant experience. So I will always like trying to make some friends who moved to the UK recently.
Mhm.
And I just found like everybody literally have their own unique story. I think especially for people, move to another new country, they got something not only very difficult for fitting in the new society. They got some we share something in common, like feelings.
Mhm.
For example, while we just trying to attend the multi English on a weekly basis. The reason for that is one is for language to like practice the language skills. I think that another main reason we all feel a little bit lonely. We want
Yeah,
to make
sure.
some friends.
Yeah, of
Want
course.
to be say what's a natural thing, what is the common life of the native people. We all are kind of curious about that thing. So I think that is the main reason. I think everybody is gonna have if they have a platform, have a chance, opportunity to share their story to others. I think other people, when they listen out, they're gonna have kind of resonant ways, the story or the feelings.
Mhm.
But I think that's the reason I think that's a really good idea for sharing your story, podcast or YouTube, whatever, and especially your channel. It
Mhm.
is that we just like meet every week, people from different countries that kind of diversity. I think they're gonna have so many diversity and unique story there. It's quite amazing thing to do.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, I mean, obviously we've got to know each other through the conversation group that we do every week. So on Friday, haven't we? And
Yeah,
as you said, there's a big mix of people, and I think, yeah, people are genuinely interested, aren't they, in people's backgrounds and people's stories,
yeah,
and the reason why you came to the UK and you came to London. And I mean, I suppose for you, your story, as you say, is quite an unusual one, isn't it?
yeah,
It's a nice story, but at the same time, I guess though it was quite a challenging thing for you,
yeah.
wasn't
It
it?
is. It
So
is.
yeah, I mean, can you give a bit of background as to why you ended up in London and the UK?
Yeah, it's a little bit dramatic stuff. I literally traveled to London in 2020 January. That was actually literally like a Chinese New Year. We
Hmm.
travel here for a vacation. Normally we travel during the New Year, and for 2 weeks. So I booked the return ticket, come to London, and stay in for 2 weeks, and about to come back, but the pandemic happened. Yeah, our flight was canceled. The first flight when I first flight canceled, I'm not kind of worried. I think you can book another. It's fine. So we booked another, and the second one is canceled again. And I booked the third one, and canceled again. And then when the time turned to March, the UK got lockdowns. So we we literally stuck here. And when you start here, you just like you thought they're gonna be finished very soon, but as soon as I just realized that the lockdown one after another, and the situation getting worse. So oh my gosh, we have to figure out what can we do. We're stuck in another new country. We're never living there, and long story short, I got time to share the details, but currently, want to say is really challenging. It's really kind of like. Not you were saying I was supposed to do. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it was not in your plans at all, was it? I
No.
mean, you're an accidental migrant, I guess, really, aren't you? So before you came to the UK, you were just simply coming for a holiday, is that right? And
Yeah, we had some ideas to move to the UK or other countries,
hmm
but we're still planning that, maybe kind of like 5-year plan.
hmm
Definitely not moving in another country within, couple months. Yeah.
yeah,
I
sure.
still have some business to do. I still have connections. We just leave our house. It's quite dramatic. We leave our house like we just live here for a short leave. We didn't when we go back the house, just like you can imagine the situation there
Yeah.
after half a year. So
So
yeah.
so you were able to return back to China after half a year, is that right? And
Yeah, after like we stayed in during the lockdowns, and I managed to got a visa finally. I'm lucky.
mhm.
And once I got a new visa, I could stay there as a resident. So I just managed to go back to China, to manage my business again.
Yeah,
And
sure.
come back. I have to do something, just that you leave to like to sudden that kind of things you have to deal with,
hmm
including our houses, our flats, and our my business as well. Yeah.
Okay, so when you returned after those 6 months, the idea was to come back to the UK again, or it?
That time I already got a entrepreneur visa, so
Mhm.
I supposed to be stay there for for doing a new business in the UK.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
was go back to like thinking like I have to make an end on my old business. Yeah,
hmm
something like that.
Yeah, yeah, but had you not got that visa, then I guess you wouldn't have gone through that route. But it sounded as if it was almost a necessity, was it, in order to stay? Is that right?
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. Wow, that's curious. So, yeah, I mean, it's quite, as you say, it's quite dramatic, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
the pandemic pushed you to do something that, yeah, okay, as you said, maybe your plans in the future were to do something like that.
Yeah, I had that plan, but it's a long-term plan. Definitely not
Yeah, yeah,
something
sure.
in
That's
a
curious.
year. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, presumably, though, after those 6 months, I mean, I suppose it's a bit difficult to know, isn't it, if you were in lockdown and you hadn't seen too much. I mean, by that stage, after 6 months, we did you feel quite comfortable in London? Did you feel as if
Mm,
you had any kind of connection or wanting to stay, or were those things that developed after that?
well, during the like first 6 months we stayed in the UK, that's kind of like all lockdowns, so
Yeah.
didn't manage to meet many people there.
hmm
But luckily, I think there was some like social media and even some Zoom. They are managing some online meetups. I was managing to join some of them, trying to make some new friends. I was trying to use all my connections in China to introduce new friends even in the EU.
Yeah,
Whatever
sure.
they're all, they are close to me. I'm gonna trying to connect them, trying to make some new friends. That wasn't goes well, to be honest, because all online, you can't really make some new friends there.
Mm,
I would say just some contacts, but until like the third lockdown finished, we could manage to see some people. I just, trying to arrange meet some in person, some person in person, some people in person, like some people like I met online. So that's the first couple of friends I make in the UK. To be
okay.
honest, that many are still Chinese friends or Chinese friends living in the UK.
Yeah.
That's more easier for us. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess that was easier, I suppose, was it initially from a linguistic point of view? I mean, when you came to the UK, I mean, how was your English? I mean, what
That's
was
really
it
terrible.
right? Okay, sure.
I haven't say something with English, especially spoken language. I
hmm
think written reading is also it's okay, but for spoken language, we didn't use that too much.
hmm
So I finally found another way to practice English to join as many meetups as I can. And also, I during the pandemic, I just like managed to listen to the BBC podcast.
hmm
This is really good for the new immigrant, especially as a newcomer for me.
Hmm.
I'm not that good and how to learn different accent. I think the BBC at least they got some standard stuff, and they have different levels. I think it's really good. Yeah, for the first stage, I just trying to listen now, trying to copy the tune. Yeah, something like that. That's my starting point, I think.
Sure, but that's an interesting one. Yeah, I mean, I think the BBC itself is very good for things like that, isn't it? I don't know, was it the 6 Minute English that you were
Yeah, they
listening
have
to?
so many channels,
Hmm.
but to be honest, that's something just like for the basic stuff.
Hmm.
Because you didn't got so many chance to practice your spoken language. I think like not work very well until if you got some basic stuff, you already can say something basic.
Hmm.
You're really eager to find someone to, especially local people, to practice your speaking language. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, sure. And obviously, yeah, with the pandemic, it made things a lot more complicated, didn't it?
Yeah, too complicated. Yeah.
Yeah. So when did you start to feel kind of a bit more comfortable and you felt a bit more integrated and you maybe started to like where you live? Because obviously, yeah, I know you do like London now, but I guess at the beginning it was hard
We
to
used to
to
stay
know
in
that.
Surrey, not a bad area.
Ah,
It's
okay,
really good
sure.
area. Yeah.
Hmm.
Stay in Surrey, our landlord is really good, and he's a British couple.
Hmm.
They just like trying to help us a lot during the pandemic. And yeah, when we stay in Surrey, I think we didn't make any friends. This all pandemic.
Yes.
After that, we moved to Buckinghamshire, the kind of rural area for my daughter's like school. So in that area, we didn't make any friends again. Just like I think it's quite rural. Everybody quite busy. You got neighbors, but they might be immigrants as well.
Yes. Yeah.
So you didn't have that many chance to meet so many local people, especially talk with them for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Sure. So how long would you say it took for you to feel, I don't know, a bit more comfortable, a bit happier in terms of having
I think at least a
contacts?
year,
At
at
least a
least a
year.
year,
Yeah.
because the second year I just like applied for the university there. I was applied for another law degree in the uni. So since I got into the university, I found like kind of fitting, it's more easier because there are more casual atmosphere. And
Hmm.
at least you go classmates, you can talk with them every day.
Sure.
That's really good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, I think that's probably a theme of every migrant to some extent, especially if you don't speak the language super well at the beginning, that I think there's always that feeling of isolation, isn't there?
Yeah,
Because it's quite difficult to connect, isn't it? And and make friendships. And yeah, I suppose obviously with the pandemic as well, that exacerbated those problems, didn't it? It kind of made those things a lot worse.
yeah,
So yeah, more for you than anything, it was kind of starting something quite regular, quite ordinary that helped you um, feel more settled, I guess, really.
yeah. You got more opportunity when you can see people in person, that's kind of different feeling. Then I just trying to join meetups and even Bright is for commercial.
Hmm.
You could make some people, at least make some connection. I won't say friends,
Yeah.
with some connections. Got some people to talk with. You got some people to meet up. That's quite good for me, for a newcomer here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's the key. As you say, it's not necessarily about making friendships, is it? At the beginning,
No,
it's just making connections. And I think the more you do that, the more you can make your way, can you, and find your way in some way. And then I guess eventually, obviously, that leads to friendships, doesn't it?
yeah, it
Um,
is.
yeah. So how did you end up in London? And yeah, I mean, what do you like about London? I mean,
I think the first things in my come to my head, it's just like it's very easy to talk with strangers.
oh yeah,
Maybe you
great.
didn't realize that because you are living here for a long time. But coming from Asia countries, I won't say that's not good, but most Asia countries, like you just like talk with strangers kind of like weird.
Yeah.
Normally you just come to the street, you won't say it's like hi, morning, yeah, what's up? How's the day? You just it's not something just just weird, nobody do that things. But in here, in first stage, I still remember that's quite interesting. When I'm trying to take a walk, around the neighborhood, I met somebody, say, "Hi, morning." I said, "I don't know you. Why you talk with me?" So strange. But gradually I understand it, oh my, yeah, they are just showing their pride, they're just showing their like hospitality, just like showing their friendly kind of stuff. Yeah, I get used to it. I feel really good. I feel good, but I just the first stage is, oh my God, why are they talk with me? What was wrong with me? Am I dressed right? Yeah, that kind of feeling. But I would say currently really, really enjoying that. It's really good to you can talk with strangers that very easily.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think that's some kind of help you to make friends, but it make you the day feel really good. It could
Uh,
be.
yeah, so
Yeah.
it's just add something to the day then, really.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I know what you mean. It's an interesting one. I mean, it's quite curious because a lot of people would say that people in London are not very friendly.
Oh, compare with other maybe Scotland.
Oh yes,
Yeah, yeah,
compared to somewhere like Scotland or
yeah.
quite a lot of other parts of the UK, I guess people are.
Just
Uh,
more busy, I think. Yeah.
yeah, I guess so. Yeah, people just don't have a lot of time, do they?
Yeah.
And they're kind of doing things. So, but yeah, I mean, there is a certain amount of connection, isn't there, with people? I think people do still want to connect in some way
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
say hello or something. Maybe not on the tube or something like that, but it depends on the circumstances, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it
Really?
depends. Yeah. And the city is definitely is more people are more busier than the rural area. If you go somewhere like less people, people are definitely more friendly.
Yeah.
At least I think that they got more time, maybe. They got more, they're not kind of like they're living a slow pace of life, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think
Okay.
that's a big factor, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Another
So
thing I think, sorry.
no, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, just like another thing I want to highlight it about what I like in London is to definitely diversity.
Yeah.
It's really international city, as some of cities, Paris, Barcelona, they're all in international diversity, but London, just like, because I stay there more, I join lots of meetups. That every time you can meet, at least 3 or 4 countries people, that's quite easy. So I think that makes another thing more interesting because people here, because it could stay different people from different countries, different colors, different body shape, whatever thing. So that's very easy for people don't judge others
Yeah,
because you just very too easy to accept everything. Just, oh, it's quite normal. I saw that, yesterday even. Yeah.
sure.
So I think that what is like do not judge or something is not something very hard if you live in a diversity society. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's one of the things that's wonderful about London, isn't it? That it's an
Yeah.
extremely diverse society. And as you say, you can, you know, come into contact with lots of different nationalities,
Yeah.
different backgrounds, people's, yeah, different faiths or, yeah, different colors, etc. I mean, it's all very mixed, isn't it? And as you say, I think it really, I don't know. I suppose because there is that element, it helps you feel a bit more integrated, doesn't it? I
Yeah.
imagine, and feel part of something. And I think because London has been like that for such a long time, it's kind of quite normal. So there's, yeah, as you say, that there's no kind of idea of judgment. I mean, I think for the most part, people are pretty accepting, aren't they? Um, of your background and all of those kind of things because they, they've they've almost definitely met somebody else from your country
Yeah.
or yeah, with your faith or whatever it may be. So therefore, for them, it's not really surprising. It's not
Yeah.
really anything particularly. I wouldn't say not. It's not that it's not special. It's just that it's seen as being normal, isn't it? It's seen as
Yeah.
being a usual thing. And I think that's quite a nice thing because I don't think people have any great expectations of you in that case. And I always say that London is a great leveler, as in
Yeah.
it, people cannot or should not feel that they're better than other people
Yeah.
or worse than other people. It's more a case of, we're all here together. We're all, you know, wanting to live together. And I think that is the wonderful thing about London is that, yeah, it's very unusual. I mean, of course, it does happen, but it's very unusual to feel
Yeah.
kind of excluded in some way. Or
Yeah, speaking of this, I just you recalled me about a turning point about how I feel with London or for
Mhm.
how I feel with another country, I think. I think for a long time, especially like during the pandemic, after the pandemic, early pandemic finish, just like kind of like I think over half a year. When I stay there, people come from like apart from Asia, I only regard them as a foreigner,
Mhm.
so, oh, that's a foreigner for me, that's different with us.
Mm.
But once I feel that when I see a people, new people, wherever they come from, I just say, oh, that's a people. They have their personality. They're just the individual. That's the turning point. I just found that I kind of fit in. I
Mm.
won't regard anybody. Firstly, just say, oh, where they come from? They're like a background or something. No, I just first I say, oh, that's the people. I'm gonna to know him or her a little bit. I won't concern about their nationalities. That's the first turning point. I just feel like a bit fatigue, yeah, in this society.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. No, and I understand that because I suppose that's the thing, and hopefully you feel that way within conversation group is that yeah, it's all about people's personalities, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and other elements are secondary things
Well, it really
almost. So.
takes a long time, especially when you live in China. It is diversity some in some extent, but it's still mostly a Chinese people. So you won't say that kind of two different faces.
Mm,
So it
sure.
takes a long time for me to. I just sometimes I just like I think I forgot the time. Just like I think over half a year, just realized that I didn't regard these people as people come from somewhere just
Mm.
because as a just a independent individual.
Yeah,
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 that's
yeah.
quite a you know a turning point for me.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I think that's a really lovely thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because it's just nice to see people for who they are, right?
yeah,
And that's lovely that you yeah you feel that way, and I think the majority of people do feel that way in London, really. I mean, so in terms of the difference, that's one difference that you're talking about with your hometown in terms of the
yeah.
diversity. What other differences are there between London?
Mm,
Because your hometown, you Shenzhen, is that right?
actually, it's not my hometown. I just living
Okay.
here for 12 years for business and just my new home. You could say like my small family living in
Hmm.
Shenzhen, but I'm not born in there. But still, I have like it's my second hometown, I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite different. I would say some like good points about Shenzhen, like they're quite developed city. They has Wi-Fi everywhere.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Not exactly like London then.
Even in the gym.
Wow.
So they just actually have like food delivery. You could go any food delivery within like 15 minutes or 20 minutes. That's quite quick.
Wow.
The service something is quite different. It's quite developed. They have so many fancy buildings there. Like somewhere like um what is that? Isle of Dog.
Yes.
Yeah, somewhere that quite similar to that kind of experience when you go to there. It's quite
Yeah.
like Shanghai, Shenzhen, like a kind of modern city or Singapore.
Yeah. Hmm.
But compared with that experience, the things I love London is like so many parks there, Hyde
Mm.
Park. Uh, yeah, we talked about it last week, I think.
Yes.
Regent Park, St. James Park. I mean, I think that's the only city so far that I have been to. Like the only city there are so many green area in the city center.
Hmm.
Yeah, they're all connected and well designed and well maintained. I really, really enjoy that things. Other people would say, oh, it's kind of like a more rural, more like not like a modern city, but I like that. It's more natural, more you feel more close to the nature.
Hmm.
It's not something like when you go to London, not something like you just like buildings after buildings. You feel like stressful and you can't breathe sometimes in the high buildings, just like kind of like feelings. But in London, I don't feel that way. Yeah, it could be somewhere like I say outdoor, somewhere quite modern, but most of the places you go green places, you go parks, you just like quite a nice balance between nature and the cities. That's
Mm.
one balance. The other balance I want to highlight it is a really good balance. I'm not, yeah, a balance about traditional and modern. So when I say there's no Wi-Fi, yeah, maybe not a bad thing. It's
Yeah.
some extent, maybe it could be a bit good thing. When I first take the tube in London, so other people work, they're reading books. I think, oh, look, they are really hard working. Then I realized there's no Wi-Fi. A newspaper and books, the only thing you could have some fun. So, but I want to say another thing like why I'm saying like the balance between traditional and modern because they are even today they still have letters available in China. No, it's almost gone, almost disappeared. Nobody just writes a real letter. The
Oh, yeah, that you put through the
yeah
post.
yeah we don't
Okay.
have that anymore
Okay.
at all. We just like everything use the digital thing.
Yeah.
So you even today we still use the letters. Use like you can use the post, use the stamp, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
I think that is good because like there are some elder people, yeah, that make it more easier for elderly people to access the traditional way in the way they are familiar with.
Hmm.
But that's really good, especially when I came to do something volunteer job in a charity. I found that yeah, they are really using that. The elderly people they came to the post office to send a mail to others. They just use the like a post office or post what is that called? The post like they
The
send
post office counter or
there's something outside they put in like a
oh, post box, you mean?
post box. Yeah,
Yeah.
still using that.
Hmm.
That's really good. I think that's uh that make me to think about like why whether just like the modern it just changed to be modern stuff is that really a good thing?
Mm.
You don't know actually. Yeah, just depends on you are seeing that when in which people's point of view.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I suppose it depends what you're doing, doesn't it? And what your expectations are to some extent. But I think, I mean, at least for me, I think a nice element of balance. I mean, I think with technology, ideally, you don't want to have too much of it in your life, but at the same time, it does make your life easier in a lot of ways, doesn't it? Especially if
Yeah,
you have a business. So I think it's having that balance, isn't it? I mean, for me, I much prefer the idea of potentially reading a book on the tube, and it's a habit that I've come. Yeah, I've stopped since I've moved out of London. I mean, I used to do it all the time. I used to read books on the tube.
that's really good.
Yeah, and I guess even if there was Wi-Fi, I suppose there are on the new lines now, maybe possibly on the Elizabeth line. Not sure. It's difficult to keep track. But I mean, even if there is Wi-Fi, I don't know. At least for me, I like the idea of still reading a book.
Yeah,
Um, I think it's just having a disconnect, isn't it? Like a digital detox, I suppose. I mean, yes, of course we need to use phones. I mean, I guess we don't need to, but yeah, I mean, if we're in terms of doing business, I mean, for me, it's vital. I'm sure it's pretty important for what you do as well.
mm,
Um, I think it's always good to have time away from screens if you can.
yeah,
And yeah, I think yeah, I suppose things like that is quite nice to see, right? It's like
yeah.
you're seeing the old and the new mixed together, and yeah, I mean with the parks as well. I mean, the everybody always mentions the parks. I think there's like something like 3,000 parks in London.
3,000.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, even if you include kind of
Included
really
some like yeah,
small areas as well.
whatever. Yeah,
So I think there's something like that, which is a huge number. But I guess the idea is behind well-being, and there seems to be a lot of research coming out nowadays to suggest that if you're like within 5 or 10 minutes of a park, it really helps you in terms of well-being. And London really has that, right? I mean, it's pretty unusual for you not to be close to a park
yeah,
in London. And I think in any big city, it's really important to have that disconnect, isn't it? You know, so that you do feel as if you're not part of something always hectic, always moving. You know, you have the opportunity to relax and, you know, just see something green. I mean, like seeing something green, I think is just really nice as a human. It's just a
Yeah.
has a very calming effect, doesn't it, on you? So,
Yeah, I really enjoy. And I also found there's a good benefit for the benefit from like a no signal in the tube because sometimes you can find an excuse
mhm.
for you don't answer on the call for clients as oh I was in the tube.
Yes, sure. Okay, cool.
That's
That's
very
a great
common.
excuse.
It's in London, you know. Just kidding, but it's quite, interesting stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
definitely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, well, that's it, isn't it? I mean, it can help in those regards sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, it
So,
is.
yeah. So, oh, I mean, obviously now you've become a regular at the group, at the conversation group. Um, you know, from the conversations we've had, you've obviously given me an indication that yeah, you like it, you enjoy
Yeah, I
being
do.
there. Yeah. I mean, what really makes you come back? I mean, I guess you've spoken about the idea of meeting different people. I mean,
Yeah.
it is it just really that, or is it something more? I mean, what's the main reason
It
why?
definitely something more because like as I shared with you last time, I think the unique thing of our community is that so many people that come back regularly.
Hmm.
You know, I've been to so many meetups. There are mostly every time you come to a meetup, even the same meetup, you're gonna meet totally different people.
Oh yeah.
So that's another thing I found like it's quite hard to make some deep connection with the people. That's meet
Hmm.
once, you know.
Yeah.
Some people maybe traveling here, just like one meet up, you meet them, just like you met them, just they are disappeared again. They went to other countries. They don't know.
Yeah.
So that's one main reason. I just like that's quite unique. The other thing like I really like kind of combination of learning and making friends and social. I think in our group is really good because like we just have serious conversations, first hour or 2 hours. We have some topics you just share, you give some list, we can discuss the topics every time. And after we have chance to go to the pub, that's the funniest part. Everybody like it. You can have some drink, have some carol talking. Just from the second part is the real concern is not about language side, just about everybody share their life. That's
Hmm.
another reason I come the idea. Everybody just share their life in person. Why not we share online, share that more people know. Maybe some people got inspired, some people got resonant ways, some people just like listen to story, just a story. It's fun.
Hmm.
I think the second PowerPoint. After that part, we normally go to eat some like go to a pizza shop.
Hmm.
Also good, have some same experience. Once you have some, stay with the same people for like a regular meeting on a regular basis and such a long time, I think it's more easier to you got some more deep connection with them
Hmm.
and more easier for you to share some real feelings with the same people. That's the best things I could do, especially in a busy city. We normally meet on a Friday. Friday is a really nice day for everybody.
Hmm.
Quite casual. Everybody just quite relaxing. So that's the best timing for share something, talk something, and then have some food and drinks. I think it's really good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And I I guess other people feel the same way. As you say,
Yeah,
people come back regularly, which is a really nice thing, isn't it? I mean, I think for everybody and obviously for me too, I mean, that's what I want to try and create an atmosphere where people do want to come back. And,
yeah,
I think yes, I mean, as you say, we at the conversation group, we talk about some serious things, don't we? Sometimes, I mean, sometimes they're a bit
something
more.
very serious.
Yeah, they can be, can't they? But also,
Overpopulation. Oh my
yes,
God.
yeah, that was the last one on Friday.
I still
There,
remember that. Oh my God.
there was no icebreaker there, but yeah, but people seem to get into it quite quickly, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah,
So
it is.
Yeah, but that's it, isn't it? I mean, and I suppose with things like that, yeah, I try my best to give a balance, but I think sometimes with these kind of topics, it's also something you may not have discussed in your own language, right?
Yeah,
So that can be a bit of a challenge. And also the fact that they are quite serious topics, sometimes it's, at least for me, I hope you find the same, that, when you're discussing things like that with people from around the world,
yeah,
it makes it a lot more interesting, right? I mean,
yeah, it is. Yeah,
I mean, you're speaking to somebody, like there was a guy from India, wasn't it? And I guess obviously China and India are the most populous
yeah,
countries at the moment. So it's quite interesting to have that there, isn't it, really? And then obviously other perspectives which would not be the same, would it, if you just had your
yeah,
own nationality? I mean, if British
yeah.
people were
Quite
talking
boring,
about,
you know.
yeah, it kind of is, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, British people were just talking about overpopulation. It would be a bit, yeah. I think after a while it
Design
would.
conception, you didn't have that feeling or experience, you know.
Yes,
So
yeah.
I think that's another reason I liked our group because like there are also is real diversity there. You know, just the total diversity. You know, everybody. You know, you could like one meetup in our meetup. You could meet like every in a table. Every people come from a new country, a country. You know, just
Yeah,
everybody's different.
yeah.
So that's a saying like that makes sense different in two ways. I think one way just as we said as we discussed like they have different angles, different perspectives.
Hmm.
The other things like they all like come to a new country. We share the same feelings. We share the same experience.
Hmm.
We found that it's more easier to connect with, to resonate with. That's another good way uh, for example, yeah, if you could make some local people, but they got their own social circles.
Hmm.
Yeah, they okay. They just for you just they for them you just add on friend.
Hmm.
You could have or could have not. It's fine, you know. But for in our community, kind of like people just they're trying to make friends.
Yeah,
Everybody will have the same real needs to social making friends, share their feelings, trying to fit in society, trying to learn language.
yeah, yeah.
So we basically that kind of like similar people. Yeah, I think that's another way I really like our community. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, I think that something like that is really, really important, though, isn't it? It's everybody coming from the same starting point, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
So that really does help with connection. And I mean, I found that when I lived in Italy, so particularly when I
Oh,
lived in Bologna, I got to know a lot of, I wasn't doing Erasmus myself, but I got to know a lot of people who were doing
I didn't
Erasmus.
know that. It's quite good. You also got some experience, you know, for move to another country,
Ye-
Italy. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
never
So,
share that. You never
oh,
share that. You
have I
should
not?
share that
Sorry, I'm
next
sharing it
time.
now. I'm sharing it now. So, but
That's quite
yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, no, I mean, I've done it a little bit, maybe in Spain and France as well, but not on the
Oh,
same level. And yeah, in Bologna, it it really, I mean, I suppose to some extent, it really helped inspire me to do a conversation group in London because, yeah, I realized that the closest connections I was making were
yeah.
people who were doing the same things as me, and obviously I got to know Italian people, but it was interesting. One of my best friends, who is Italian, is one of my best friends because he did Erasmus in Ireland, so
Oh,
he understood what it felt like
wow.
as well. And so I think those things are always important for connections and making you feel comfortable in some way, because people can relate to you, right? People can
Yeah.
understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And yeah, that is really important. I think that really is key.
Yeah, this is the most amazing things in London. I think not only something like you from more people connect with. They just share different background. They connect with them just like you got more. I would say you live in a more diversity way, in a more flourishing way, in a more colorful way. I like
Mhm.
that thing, you know, because you don't just something like you meet lots of friends. You maybe have 100 friends, but in the same background. That's quite boring. I would say that's one friend. You know,
Yeah.
Yes, maybe I have maybe only have like 20 friends, but they all have from different background, different countries, different cultural. They're gonna have more kind of like inspiration or kind of more comparison for you, make the life more flourish. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, it's about growing, isn't it? And understanding different perspectives. And but also as well, I mean, one of the things that I find is that, okay, yes, we all are from different backgrounds, but really fundamentally people are all the same, aren't they?
Yeah,
And
definitely.
there's no real difference, is there?
No, no, no.
Even if you don't really agree with somebody's opinions or their political views and all that kind of thing, really it doesn't really matter. It doesn't mean you can't connect
No.
with that person. It doesn't mean that you cannot be friends with that person.
Yeah, that's fun.
And I think that that's probably something that has been lost a little bit with the digital age, isn't it? That people are kind of talking to each other online and really we're no different from each other at all, regardless of where we come from.
Yeah, especially social media, they're trying to push more new friends that like you.
Hmm.
Yeah, or similar with you. That's another thing that make your social circle narrower and narrower. Maybe the quantity is bigger and bigger, but actually is narrower and narrower.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, no,
sad.
it is a bit sad, isn't it? Yeah, and I suppose hopefully this inspires people to go out and do meetups and
Yeah,
yeah, see people, especially in a big city. I mean, I think in a big city it's really important to try and do those kind of things, isn't it? And create some connections somehow. As you said, even if you're not making friendships, it's good to just
yeah.
speak to other people from other
You
backgrounds
don't
and
know. Yeah, I got many like even business ideas from different meetups.
yeah,
Just a meetup to see the sunset. Just use quite random stuff.
yeah.
You got some word, some people saying something like quite irrelevant, but
Mhm.
when you on the way, take it on tube because there's no Wi-Fi. Yeah, so you have to think about it. But you got some inspiration. We got new sparks in your mind. It's really good. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, I think one of the reports I read about like working in a company, they said that the companies that are much more diverse and have much more of a mix of people, kind of do better because there's a lot more ideas, a
I
lot
believe
more
so.
in innovation. So yeah, I mean, I can definitely see that, especially with the group every week. I mean, as you say, you can just do anything and an idea will come from nowhere, right? It's just something you're not even looking for. So
Yeah, you don't
yeah,
know. That's
yeah,
the
yeah.
best thing to do is that you don't know you're gonna which people are gonna. You definitely will have stable people, but you still have some newcomers.
Hmm.
So it's very interesting to meet some new people as well.
Yeah, 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 definitely. That's the nice thing as well, isn't it? And I would hope that everybody feels welcome as soon as they're new as well. Um, so maybe the final one. So in terms of English, obviously you speak English extremely well now, and
Thank you.
I think you're always keen to improve as well, which is great. What kind of three tips would you give to anybody? Um,
Um, if I would say like the first thing I would say like I benefit a lot from that listening
mhm.
podcast,
Okay.
especially Monty English podcast. The God podcast is really good. Although I don't like grammar stuff, but I know I need that.
Okay. Mm.
I don't like it because I need it.
Okay.
You got the idea.
Yeah,
So
sure.
I think listening is really, really essential. Especially we got many times you don't need to bother to open the phone or something. Just listen. You got more like time can waste on their tube, on their walking way, on their whatever you are doing. Maybe
Hmm.
you're cooking or just like doing something you have nothing to do, just boring.
Hmm.
I have two earphones. One
Okay.
is for the open mic because like you don't need to go inside your ear and make it more comfortable. But the thing is that they're gonna if it's a noisy atmosphere, they're gonna can't listen, they can't hear it.
Yeah.
So I listen a lot. So that's the first tips I would give. Like you have so many podcasts there. Yeah, whatever you like, you can find
Hmm.
something interesting. You're interested. You just listen.
Yeah.
So that's the first one. The second one I would say like change your atmosphere, change your surroundings with English. Everything's English. My laptop, my iPhone, my even when I talk with with my wife, my daughter,
Yeah.
I won't talk Mandarin because we want to change it. I will try to use as many, you know, international or UK like apps as I can. I
Hmm.
try to avoiding like a Chinese apps. I like them, but just like because I want to learn English, that's
Yeah,
the best way to change your surroundings, especially not only the things you are using, definitely the people around you.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm trying to make my best to make more friends as I can.
Yeah, and that's an interesting tip. I mean, I think that's probably one of the most difficult things for most people is speaking English with your partner, right? Because
Yeah,
obviously, if they speak your language,
it could be
uh,
awkward,
yes, sure,
but gradually when you get used to it, it's fine. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So over time, you got used to it, and it seems totally natural to you now.
Yeah, we both found quite natural recently just talk with English. Sometimes we just found talk with Mandarin is kind of weird because I found, language is kind of something that, sorry, I can talk more about that. It's really interesting.
Uh-huh.
Like, I think the human body is something like a hardware, right? The
Hmm.
language is like software. When I talk with English and I talk with Mandarin, I showing like different personalities.
Yeah.
So that's the another way I like talking with English because like I found like I got some new potential personality just showing off
Hmm.
that I never discovered. So I like that part of yeah, that part of me. Sorry.
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, that was another thing that I understood when I was in Italy, and I feel like a different person when I speak Italian, and I think that's what happens, isn't it? I mean, you take on something from that culture and that way of doing things, don't you? Which I think is a very rewarding thing,
Yeah,
and very nice feeling, isn't it? And it is like you have another personality, isn't it? It's like
yeah.
you're a different person. And I don't know how you find this, but in Italian I feel as if I'm maybe less shy. It just seems a bit more natural
Oh,
to
really?
speak, because I suppose Italians are a bit more like that, right? They're more kind of expressive with their hands, and they they don't tend to have this idea of being shy.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think you can adopt uh, cultural ways and cultural beings, customs, I guess. Yeah.
yeah. I think really, yeah. Language is kind of way of thinking,
Mhm.
in sense, in essential stuff.
Mm.
So I like that part of things. So the third tips I would give, like, is definitely meet more people in person as
Mhm.
possible.
Yeah.
That's quite different. If you only listen some podcasts, you only do some learning something on the textbook stuff, you never know there are different accent. Yeah, there has different slangs. You never know that.
Mm.
When you meet people, the people from speaking of different accent. When I first came to the university, just like my table, like they have people from 4 countries, I think. I really quite didn't understand them, net of them because they are not. I will back to that stage. I would say that they are not saying the proper English, but but for me, I think it's my problem, right? I have to try to understand every accent.
Yeah.
So I also that's another reason I travel a lot to try to meet person from different parts of this country. I travel to
Mhm.
Scotland,
Mhm.
travel to Belfast. I
Mhm.
heard that people speak in that funny way. That's quite interesting, but gradually I got used to it. I think everybody come to me speak what kind of English, and I can at least I can understand it. I think that I'm gonna highly recommend to join some community or meet
Mhm.
some people in person regularly that make you more confident to say English with other people, especially strangers. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and that's it, isn't there? There's a wide variety of accents, and also the way people are. I mean, obviously it's about their accents and the way they speak, but people are obviously different parts of each country, aren't they?
Yeah.
For various different reasons. And I think that's a way of connecting, isn't it, as well? If
Yeah.
you've been to where that person is from, then that makes such a huge difference, doesn't it, in terms
Yeah.
of your ability to get on with them, and have something to share, really, isn't it?
Yeah. I remember you shared that in your podcast. You mentioned that or the other partner mentioned that, the people that got some accent that actually make the English more interesting.
Hmm.
If you everybody saying that like a native, it's kind of I would say kind of boring because the background, their language, their cultural, they are all. connected with the language they are saying, the accent they are saying. There's some reason for that. You don't need to. For me, I never trying to copy as an English accent. I just want to make other people understand me. That's enough.
Yeah.
But I think with some kind of accent, it's a bit cute. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's me. Just I got accent because I'm from part of this world. I'm not British originally.
Hmm.
That's fine. That's totally fine. Yeah.
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, it's about identity, isn't it? And, I think everybody loves that,
Yeah.
really. I mean, yeah, I think it's fair to say that people like that fact. I mean, as long as they can understand what you're saying and that you're clear. I mean, obviously, of course, you can work on how you sound and sound a bit clearer and work on rhythm and things
Yeah.
like that. But yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to lose your accent. I think, yeah, it makes you unique and special. And, I think for me and the majority of people, it's like, oh, that's a nice thing. It's a lovely thing to hear
Yeah.
somebody sounding that way. And,
Yeah.
I think in order to try and lose that, I think is probably not the best thing to do necessarily. I mean, great if you do want to do that. There's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with it at all. It's obviously a good thing to sound more like a native speaker, but it's also a good thing to not completely sound like a native speaker. I mean,
No. No.
both things are, you know, kind of mutually exclusive, aren't they? They're different things. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I've always found it a little bit strange when I've met foreigners that sound like they're
Too
not.
natural.
Yeah, they're too natural. Yeah, but I mean, I guess one of the only ways you can do it is if you kind of grow up with it as a child.
Yeah.
I think it's before the age of 13. Um, Usually they say that your brain can develop in a way that you become more bilingual. So therefore, there's no real differentiation after that kind of age. You can start to hear things, like it may just be like small things like prepositions and stuff, but you'll still hear some differences.
Yeah.
um but that's a beautiful thing. I mean, I think it's always good that
Yeah.
people.
The diversity city, accent is also kind of diversity, part of diversity. So that's okay.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Even American English and British English, you don't understand each other in some words. So
Well, sure. Yeah, that's true. I mean, like, I suppose the majority of British people would understand American words just because we were very exposed to their culture.
yeah.
But yeah, the other way around is not often the case. I mean, there's quite a few phrases in Britain that Americans will never have heard of.
Yeah.
But maybe over the last 5 or 10 years, that's changed a little bit. That they probably do have a little more exposure to our culture nowadays. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that's very possible. It really is possible because it depends how close you are to that culture, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
how much you share it, or
Yeah.
how much you interact with each other, really.
Yeah, then so that I think that's really fine, totally fine. It's not the main purpose you come to this country to speak perfect British English. No, that's not the main purpose. Not the main purpose. This the main
No.
purpose is just living there
Yeah.
happily. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and trying not to worry about that too much.
No.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But yeah, that's great. Thanks for joining me, Marcus, and everybody else. I mean, I think that's a really nice insight into, your life, your background, and what you think about London and language, which I should imagine people will find very interesting. So yeah, thanks very much for that.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity for me to give me a chance to share my story. And I also got a lot of new things like during our discussion. It's really good. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome, and it's going to be a pleasure to see you again on Friday, I should
Yeah,
imagine. And
yeah. Today's Monday. Boring Monday. Oh my
boring
God.
Monday,
I
nothing's
can't
happening.
wait to go to the Friday event. Friday,
Fant-
Friday, Friday.
Fantastic. Let's hope everybody feels exactly the same way as you. So
Yeah.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. But yeah, I mean, yeah, for me too. I look forward to Friday as well. I mean, it's yeah, definitely the highlight of my week, and I'll look forward to seeing you then. So yeah, have a great week,
You
and
too.
thank you very much. And
Enjoy the sunshine.
I will. I will. What
Still have
little
some.
we've still got a little bit, so it's all
Yeah.
good. It's all good. All
Yeah.
right. Thanks, everybody. You've been listening to English with Monty.